on Arctic sovereignty. We stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, responding to the U.S. threat to take control of Greenland. That was just a small part of the Prime Minister's speech today. The bigger theme, calling attention to the U.S. coercive control over the economy and calling on middle powers like Canada to band together. Let's get some more analysis on this. Stewart Prest is a political science lecturer at the University of British Columbia. Welcome to the newsroom. We put together some of the clips of this speech, and let's start by listening to one of those.
We know the old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just.
So as you heard that part of the speech, what comes to mind?
Well, it is a remarkable speech. I think it is something we're going to refer back to for some time. It seems clear that Prime Minister Carney is trying to mark a division between that old order we became accustomed to and what we are facing going forward, but also noting pretty explicitly in terms we're not used to coming from a world leader like Mark Carney that there was injustice in that order, that while countries like Canada would do well with American leadership, we enjoyed prosperity, security, other countries were not so lucky. And so suggesting that perhaps this is a moment where we can move forward with a more honest set of institutions and relationships going forward.
He talked about the responsibility for middle powers, including Canada. What are middle powers? What are some of the other middle powers?
That's a good question. This is not a new concept. We have talked about Canada as a middle power for some time. We can think of them as countries that are not helpless. We have weight, capacity on the global stage, but we can't make our own weather. We can't really determine our own future without support of others, like a country like the United States. So countries like other states in Europe, the Denmarks of the world, but also thinking more broadly, countries like Qatar that have a strong economy, that have wealth to invest, that we might not normally work with. These are countries that Canada has to get more comfortable finding common cause where it makes sense to do so.
Beyond the speech, as you've seen these shifting alliances, the trade deal with China, the trip to the Middle East, when the sort of reaching out to Denmark, what have you been thinking?
I am thinking that this is almost like a moment of clarity for the international community. And Mark Carney is really trying to take advantage of that to plant a flag for Canada. That sense that we can't really wind back the clock. The United States is not going to play the role it once did, and we can't simply wait for that to happen. But that doesn't mean that we have to simply sit passively and wait for whatever comes to overwhelm us. And so I think it is interesting to see what comes of this moment where we do see troops being deployed to Greenland. What else can we see where countries like Canada can make our own way and find partners willing to work towards some measure of stability and partnership, even amid this uncertainty that we all live through.
Our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton, said at the beginning of the hour that this is a speech that Mark Carney wrote himself. And I had the feeling as I watched it that he's sending a message not just to leaders of the world in Davos, but also to people within his own country, including on foreign policy. Let's listen to another clip from the speech.
So we're engaging broadly, strategically, with open eyes. We actively take on the world as it is, not wait around for a world we wish to be.
What does that tell you about how he's positioning Canada?
Oh, he's very clearly signaling, I think, a kind of realist foreign policy. I think it's a signal to Canadians and to the rest of the world, also to international relations scholars. In some ways, this sounded like a grad seminar that I might be a part of, that we are dealing with the world as it is, trying to find willing partners that will work with us and not wait for a perfect moment to come along and accept that the perfect is not likely going to be possible at any time in the near future, but that we can still work towards a kind of rule-governed world within our own purview. And so trying to be, I think, bite-sized in our approach and opportunistic in our approach to finding partners with which to cooperate.
Early in the hour, I interviewed Edward Greenspan, the former, among other things, editor-in-chief of the Globe and Mail, and said, hey, you're not a journalist anymore. How did you feel about the speech? He still feels like a journalist, so he was still very analytical. You're a professor. You can speak with great freedom. How did you feel about the speech?
I thought it was refreshing. I was struck by just how comfortable Prime Minister Carney was labeling things in terms that we would say in a grad seminar, critiquing the world order, talking about the inequality, even the hypocrisy of things like the international legal framework. He was talking about that on a global stage. That's more or less unprecedented from someone in a role like Mark Carney's. And so that, I think, was a breath of fresh air, the sense that this is a new opportunity, even amid the challenges that we're facing, to be a little more honest with what's going on, what is possible, and what kinds of trade-offs we are making, and not pretend that everything is okay, because everything clearly is not, but that doesn't mean it's hopeless either.
Near the end of the speech, he called for unity with other countries. Let's listen to that clip.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
So what do you think is going to happen here? I guess, first of all, we are a small country. We may be a middle power, but we are a small country. Do you think that Carney's speech will have influence?
I think the world was watching this speech, and so capitalizing on that sense of a moment. The fact is, this moment really plays to Mark Carney's strengths. This is an audience that would want to hear what he has to say, regardless, given his background as a central banker. And so there was attention to his words. The fact that Canada is on the front lines here, I think, really focused attention further to see what is Canada doing to respond to these pressures that we are experiencing from the United States. We really are on those front lines. And so there is attention there and interest, but also, I think, some curiosity about how the United States reacts. And we have to wait and see there, because Canada is, in some ways, an exemplar for other countries to learn from in charting this more independent course.
UBC's Political Science Department, where you are a lecturer, has been a great resource for us here on the program. Stewart, thank you very much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.